Hey, you.
Hey, you right back. I thought we had a
Hey, you
crowd today.
guys. Huh?
I thought we had a crowd today. It looked like coming
Yeah,
for
some
this.
two people just quit, or two, not quit, but two people just,
Canceled.
yeah. So we're on my Zoom. We're not on anybody else's Zoom.
Yeah.
Right now. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Coach by Coaches. Today, I've got Don Jackson. We are expecting a few more coaches. If they show up, great. If not, we're going to sit here and talk. We're talking about how coaches relate to their clients and how coaches help each other. There's a safety net that I found of coaches. And I was just explaining, we went to dinner with three or four coaches. I went to dinner with three or four coaches about 4 months ago. And we all just kind of laid our cards on the table over this 3 hour dinner. There were some beverages. And we sat there and kind of healed each other in a way that only other coaches can understand. I almost wish I could do this dinner every week because there's a minefield of trauma that almost every coaching client has, almost every person has. And I don't need to know everything about somebody, but understanding that those touch points makes me a better coach for somebody. What do you think, Don?
Oh my gosh, yes. I think our conversations and just the decade of conversations with coaches I've been able to have as a rookie, as a veteran coach, we come across things, situations with our clients, and we have our answers, we have our thoughts, but the multi perspective view of the same situation with
Mhm.
minds that are here to add value to our clients like we all are, and taking that helps. That's saved, I know, me hundreds if not thousands of hours in hearing how you would handle it. Say, that's exactly what Sally needs to hear from me tomorrow. Thank you,
Right.
Bob. That's invaluable. And at all the bars, at all the breakouts, at all the in betweens, all the masterminds we have, we get to have those conversations in the 3 hours with nobody watching, and a couple bottles of wine or what have you usually make the greatest of those masterminds. They really do.
So understanding, and this may get to the personality types, which I love to fall back to the social styles handbook. Um, Analytical driver, expressive, amiable. I consider myself an expressive who goes driver under a stress situation.
Okay.
What do you consider yourself?
I am the disc test, or IDDI, depending on the day that I take the test. They're both in the 80 to 95 percentile on most of the tests that I take. And I find
So when you're
myself situationally, just like you said, situationally, I'll go back and forth between the two.
right,
I don't have a lot of S and C in me. We've cultivated the operation side along the way, as we've talked about in the past, but the expressive driver, and I would say the driver comes out more so, as we've learned as coaches, when the client needs more directive coaching
right.
versus the Socratic questioning of coaching. That is not the driver's side of me. I have to temper my driver's side back and ask more questions. You're
I
laughing.
rolled
Why?
my eyes at that one. Just because the Socratic side is great, and I do it without thinking about it sometimes. But I can tell you there are days that it's kind of like, when you have a problem on a website and you read the help article and it says, was this article helpful? And
No.
so somebody's coming to you with a problem and they're trying to work through it, and you're like, here's another question about that. Here's another question about it. And you could just say turn left. Turn left.
That's all you have to do.
What if you what if your GPS just sat there and asked you questions about where you wanted to go instead of telling you? Yeah. Why do you
That's a
want to go to the
that's a
store?
great analogy.
What's at the
Well,
store
here,
that you're really looking for?
all right. So going back to it, we've and to add value to everybody watching, we've been through many trainings of Socratic questioning and
Right,
questioning
right.
over the directive coaching. And 100% it's based on the person we're discussing and their understanding of the subject we're talking about. If they have no clue, turn left. If they have lots of clue, I want them to dig the information that I know they have from within themselves. And that's where the questioning comes in. I don't need to be directive with you when it comes to SEO, Bob. In fact, we probably wouldn't even talk about it. I wouldn't ask you any questions. Let me back that one up. But there's situations where, yeah, just push that button, Bob. It'll take care of all your problems. We have to be able to do that sometimes with our clients.
Right. But talking about, I jumped over the personality styles when we were talking about the trauma field that people have, and we're trying to navigate them through so that they can not necessarily go through their trauma, but go through their business. And so sometimes I'll have a coaching client and they're just not getting where they need to go. Something's just not, and I'll ask them, and they will plop out this scenario from their past or that they're living through or whatever. And that's the holdup. And occasionally I've said, hey, have you considered getting a therapist? Have you considered getting a counselor? I have a huge love in my life for people and I want to help, but I am not the right person for that conversation. I'll sit down and have dinner with you and listen and we'll connect but I am not the right one to solve this. I've been in counseling for years. I just think you should be issued a counselor when you turn a certain age. And you honestly, it's great to have that person who understands mental health. And there's been too much stigma about mental health over the years. What would happen if you sat down with your client and just said, hey, this is important that you connect with somebody over this?
I've done it as well, Bob. I think it's super, super valuable for the right people in the right situation with the right thought process about it, right? Willing to go through that. Now, here's the other thing. We're not therapists. It feels like it sometimes, right? We're the hairstylist, we're the bartender, we're the coach, we're the therapist. Sometimes it does go that way. However, if you come to the answer and the conclusion because of questions I ask, you're going to own that at a deeper level for a longer period of time versus me telling you to turn left and coming to the same conclusion. So push that button, everything's handled, cool. But you know what I mean? Sometimes, many times, most of the time, we need to gather it from ourselves and we own it. It's like the goal. If you tell me what my goal is, whatever, Bob. If I tell you what my goal is, that's mine. I own it. We can do something about that. So what I've learned and what I found with the Socratic questioning, it really helps in those situations where I need you to dig out the answer because you're going to own it and I need you to own it. If I'm going to ask you to call 50 people a day, yeah, exactly. You're going to roll your eyes at me unless you tell me, you know what, I think I've come to the conclusion it's time to call 50 people a day. You're not going to do it because I told you to in most cases. Yeah.
I agree with you completely. And the Socratic method of asking all those questions is important to dive down into that. One of the things I deal with sometimes is people use the phrase that I absolutely abhor, I don't know. And part of me thinks, okay, maybe they don't know what their why is. Maybe, and I've dealt with this on some people with specifically, why are you doing this? Oh, I got into business this way. No, that's how you got into business. And that's not why.
Right.
You could bag groceries, and that's a very honorable profession. You could do any number of jobs. Why real estate? Specifically, that's obviously that's what we coach. And when they say, I don't know, part of me thinks, you do know, and it scares you. Or you do know, and you're worried it's not the right answer.
Yes. Yes. I agree with that. I love Tom's response, and it's something that I've adopted. Understand, but if you did know, what would it be? And that hypothetical question lowers the resistance and many cases, many times starts that conversation. And well, if I did know, I guess it would be. And we can get to the answer a little easier. It's a very, very simple trick. It doesn't question. It doesn't always unlock the combination, but many times it does. When we take a serious situation and turn it into a hypothetical like that, Oh, I know you
Hmm.
don't know. Who would know the answer to this? But if you did know, what do you think it would be? It keeps the back and forth because we don't have all the answers either many times. Our job's to help them get to the answer, not just give them the answer as a coach. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I do know. We don't always know which way that is on statement number one or question number one. So we have to ask questions to figure out, is it a left or a right here that we really need to
Hmm.
take? So I am a big fan of Socratic questioning. And if you've never farmed before, okay, 1 through 7, write these down. Here we go. This is exactly what I want you to do. Needs to come out because they have no clue, and it's pointless to ask them more questions about something they don't know about. That's ridiculous. And I don't think that was ever the point, I hope,
I agree.
of any of our training. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm finding right now is in this, specifically to real estate, is a lot of clients are saying, well, nothing's selling.
Mm,
Nothing
yeah.
is selling. It's just a stale market. And I always ask them to share their screen and we go look at their MLS. And in their county or their area, 2, 3 thousand houses sold.
In the
Just
last
wasn't
30 to
you.
90 days. Yeah.
You're right. Nobody's buying a house. You're right. Nobody bought those 2,000 people. Those are fake. It's a matter of right now digging in and digging deeper and having a tribe of people who can help you dig in and dig deeper. And you don't necessarily have to blaze the trail, but you do have to get up and walk. You have to get, or you're getting left behind on the trail, and that's never a good sign, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Bob, we're in the middle of this 100K in 100-day challenge. I have a small group of my clients, 14 of us that started just before the challenge kicked off. And we meet every week for accountability. I ran it by you guys. We meet for accountability. They have a minimum goal of 50 contacts a week. There's money involved. You lose if you don't hit your requirements. And there's 14 of us now. I think we started with 17 or 18. We're what, 5, 6 weeks in. They're doing well.
Hmm.
The reason why I say that is because what I'm finding, every one of them is saying, wow, this is hard. As they're going on my more buyer appointments, as they're going on more listing appointments, as they're generating more leads. And our conversation is, well, of course, it's 2023. It's real estate. You really don't prospect and talk to 50 new people a week ever. So, of course, it's hard. And you've done hard things before. And you'll do hard things again. And you committed to this hard thing. So keep going. We want it to be easy. We want it to be simple. We want it to be automatic because 2020 and 2021 and the beginning of 2022 was a magical time in real estate with all hell breaking loose with COVID and everything else in the world. Of course, we became order takers and it was easy and we didn't have to worry about trying to talk to 50 people a week to hit our goals. Do hard things. It's okay to have hard things being done in your life. It's not all easy. And if we're waiting for it to be easy, we'll never hit our goals. And so, yeah, I agree. Nothing, everyone, always, never. We need to cut those 4 words out of our vocabulary, period, end of story. It's never true.
Jason,
It's very rarely true. It's easy to fall into that camp of everyone, nobody's buying, nothing's selling, everyone's struggling. Not the case. Absolutely not the case. You proved it by going into the MLS.
talk to me about the resistance of people in real estate not wanting to be salesy when they went and got a salesperson's license, you know, and
Says it on the
that
license. Yes.
this is $1,000 pager, not $1,000 phone. I don't want to call, I don't want to seem salesy. This is not
Mm-hmm.
$1,000 pager. Okay.
That's
This
right.
is this is a phone. And we used to beg, I'm of the generation, we used to beg our parents to put a phone line in the back room so we could call our friends all day or get on the computer without mom interrupting,
That's right.
our AOL time.
That's right. Your dial up.
We used to beg for a phone line, and now we have more technology in our hands than the space shuttle or almost lots of other things. and we refuse to call. How do you handle that?
How's that working out for you? Are you getting the results that you want by texting and by waiting? If you are
Yeah.
dynamic, congratulations. Let's keep that up. It's working for you. 99.8% of the time, I'm not getting the results I want. So we have to draw the conclusion of the results we want, deals and dollars, and satisfied clients that have closed the transaction with us, and doing the hard work. And so choose your hard, right? That was a thing a year or two ago. We were saying a lot of it needs to come back because we're choosing the easy, and the easy isn't getting it done. Right? It's amazing to me. We've been talking about a CMA a day, an annual equity update, an annual equity review, and now I'm not going to use our name, a ZMA. I don't like the other name we call it, so we're going to call it a ZMA. We're not lazy. We're doing things. They didn't want to do the CMA a day via email. They didn't want to call. They didn't want to do a video. And now a simple text in many cases is out of the question, overwhelming, salesy. I don't text them. It's weird. So how many of you sent out? Oh, none yet.
Yeah.
Can we try 5 of them? Who are the 5 that bought in 2017 or later that you haven't talked to in a while? Let's practice on them. Listing appointment, listing appointment, listing appointment. It's ridiculous. Do the thing, have the power, Tom shares with us. Do not the thing, have not the power. We've got to taste. We've got to do before we say, I don't want to. I never call. I never bug them. I'm not salesy. We have to get past that. And quite frankly, it's your podcast. I think I'm okay here. It's bullshit. It's lazy. It's avoidance of the work that needs to be done. Yes. Yes, I think my point has been made very clear. Prospecting in some way, shape, or form is a requirement for success in real estate.
You can spend time or money or both in advertising. You cannot afford to spend neither time nor money.
That's right.
And
That's right.
to your point, I think people get into this industry with the expectation that it's easy in real estate. They've watched $1 million people on TV, and you show 3 houses and it's fabulous. And, look at all these swank fabulous people. And that's not a documentary. That's not a documentary. That's reality television. And that's not what we live. But
Scripted reality television. Yes.
allegedly, yes. But when people take depending on your state, up to 6 months of classes and go pass an exam and spend the money to get cards made and signs made and everything it takes to you don't get a penny until you have a closing.
That's right.
And then they sit there and get in their own way about doing the work. They get in their own way about, even right now, I'm urging people, let's say you're in Topeka. I'll go online and show you Topeka, Kansas events in October. You're going to go to 4 of those events. You're going to tell your friends you're at those events. You're going to go make videos at the events. You're going to interview the people running the booth or running the event. And it's not going to cost you much of anything to go advertise, to go meet everybody and increase your sphere, to tell your friends, hey, I'm going to this pumpkin patch. Meet me here between 12 and 12:30. Let's go together. Let's go into this. Get off your butt and go. And I almost want to ask, I heard Tom ask this question once. I love this question. If I moved to Topeka and I got my license in 6 months, which one of us would be more successful? Because I'm going to open up right next door to you. Because I see an opportunity in the market because you're not marketing. Which one of us is going to get the market? And they're always like, oh. I don't understand the reticence. And it baffles me.
Same. And isn't that the thing that's been the thing forever in real estate? It really has. I remember, Bob, when I started 30 30 years ago. I just turned 50. Thank you. I've earned every one of the gray now. I was 20 years old, making $5 an hour, working for a gentleman selling 150 houses a year back then, and owned a 60-man real estate office on top of that. When it took me a minute, but I realized that he was successful because he did the things that we're talking about. He created relationships, he nurtured the relationships, and crazy enough, those turned into deals and dollars. Wild stuff in real estate. And then I watched the agents, because the 80-20 rule, 90-10 rule has always been in effect in real estate. You watch the others who talk about it, want to do it, dream about it, plan to do it, excuse, reason why not, things happen. It's almost they manifest the life that takes them away from the thing they've been wanting to do.
Say that again.
It's almost as if
brilliant.
agents manifest the life that takes them away from their plans that they've been working on and talking about, because the work is work. Because the work required to do it is hard. And it takes some time to understand putting the plan into action is hard. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not smooth. There's ups, there's downs. I'm going to fail a lot in the process. And Bob, when we're talking about it, I think that is really the thing that holds so many of us back, is that fear of failure and or fear of success, right? Fine line, right? Oh, if I do 5 deals a month, oh my gosh, I'm not at the soccer games. My wife is going to divorce me. All the bullshit mind games that we play with ourselves, instead of having the right communication with our family, setting up the schedule to empower us, not make us fearful in our lives. There's so many pieces we can do to counteract that. Hell, if you work 3 to 5 hours a day, 5 days a week in real estate, you can have one hell of a career. You really can. It will add more on, or you will bring more people on eventually. But man, if you just prospect market and talk to a few people a day consistently for 90 days, you make a bunch of money in this business. It is that simple, Bob. You know it is.
It absolutely everything you're saying, and there was a couple of mic drop moments in what you just did. I mean, I don't know how many microphones you have to drop, but you were dropping them. This is, I mean, absolutely true. Don't do it. It's that's an expensive mic. Don't do it.
That's all I got.
It's absolutely true. If you put the work in, you get it back. I like to use the analogy of if I do one sit up in the morning, do I get abs? Because I
No,
sat
I've
up in
tried
bed
that
this
route.
morning.
That doesn't work. Yeah.
I sat up in bed this morning. Where's my ab? So when somebody says, "Oh, I tried open houses," or "I did a postcard and it didn't," when I and it doesn't work because I sent a mailer, you got to do a lot more reps. You got to do a lot more sit-ups. Otherwise, you're not going to get that. You sent one postcard and you want an ab. That's not how this works.
That's
and
true.
So when you talk about getting up and doing the work and getting up and doing the work and getting up and doing the work, that's the whole key to this business.
Yeah, yes, and it is 2023. So let's put in perspective. Prospecting and marketing is not cold calling and the Homes and Land magazine, right? That's not what we're talking about. Right. I mean, we start with people we know, like, love, and trust before we go to the
But Don,
other side of the world.
My face is on every grocery cart at the Safeway. Why am I not getting any leads
I'll
off my
go
grocery
back to
carts at
my
the Safeway?
original, my favorite coaching question, Bob. How is that working for you?
For you.
Yes, you tell me. That's the best question ever. And being coachable enough to be open to an answer. I think that's very important to what you're saying too. Okay, let's not beat up on the system anymore. I have a question for you.
Okay. Yes.
What's working? With all of that, we know what's not working. Not working is not working, right? Not doing the work never works. What is working? Because the market is tight. We're going to sell 4 million homes this year nationwide. It looks like the projectors are projecting us for another 4 million next year, with who knows, are we going to see 7, 8, 9% interest rates? I don't know. We have the wars, we have inflation, we have an election, we have gas, we have everything else going on economically. But for us in our real estate business, people are still buying and selling, Bob. How are we getting there? What's working that you're finding today?
For me, and my answer is predicated on for me, as an extrovert, as a people person, I am doing as much in person as possible. So we have active and passive lead sources that we talk about. Actives are nose to nose. These are open houses. These are phone calls. These are social events, things like that. Passives are the letters, messages we put in a bottle and throw out to see. We don't know if somebody's going to see our email, our website, or whatever today, tomorrow, or 9 months from now.
Okay.
So I am a very active person. Okay. I do my passives because those are just on auto drips and those are great. But I like to go to community events. I like to host community events. I like to go out with friends. I like to be online chatting up people and seeing how they're doing and talking about what's going on. I am ever present in their world. And that's where they'll always ask me, so how's real estate doing? Well, oh, you're up to this. Tell me about this new listing you have. It's that being constantly active in their life in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I have people who go to my Facebook every day because Bob's going to have something funny, that sort of thing. And they just expect it to the point that if I don't post something for a day or two, they're like, are you okay? What's up? I need my funny. So, and through that, they know I'm in real estate. I don't usually walk in the door and go, hi, I'm Bob McCranie. I want to sell your house.
Right.
Unless they've asked me over for that.
Right.
But I'm just ever present, showing my knowledge of real estate while we're having, burgers, or while we're touring the pumpkin patch, or while we're doing whatever. I just try to provide those opportunities. And then people who are clients of mine and friends of mine meet each other and become a network together. Because, they kind of create that connection. And they're looking forward to my next event where they'll see their friend as well.
Yes. Yes. I think you said something, you said a couple things there I really like, one of which is you're ever present. And I know if you have a networking opportunity and you connect with 5, 10, 20 people, really connect with them. I know you, Bob, there's a follow-up conversation, whether it's a text, a DM, or whatever it is down the road. I'm talking with a lot of clients when we're talking about it here at the brokerage, more in person, whether they're home seminars or the chamber or the food festival or the car show or whatever, the golf club, right? Whatever it is, that's important. I was talking with a group of agents that had never been to networking events before. And through process of elimination, the chamber was going to be the place they started. And Bob, this is my answer to the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce, that's great. Well, we've had some agents that told me it didn't work. Well, of course they told you that. Can I share? I know their playbook. They showed up to the cold egg meeting. They listened to the speakers. Then they went home and did nothing more. There must be follow-up post-event to set the one-on-one relationship in motion, whether it's digital or a coffee meeting. And I think so many agents blow it with follow-up period, especially from these type of events. And I'm finding those who follow up amazing. They're growing their database and picking up more and more referrals. So it's the event, yes. And taking that to the next level, we've got to have follow-up. We've got to be interested in them. We've got to figure out what they're about, or they will never give a shit about what we're about. Yes. And I think those follow-up opportunities lay the groundwork for great relationships going forward.
Absolutely agree with everything you just said. One of the things that I come back to a lot are time sucks in our schedule. Energy sucking vampires and time sucks in our schedule. I tend to bring people back to the time blocking exercise that we do early on. That's like first base, and we got to come back here and circle back every once in a while because you've forgotten your time block.
Sure.
And one of the things I find is that people give away their biggest asset, their time. They'll volunteer at the MLS committee. They'll volunteer for the association of whatever. And, those associations and MLS committees will flatter you and, oh, you're amazing. And then you realize you're putting 20 hours into a free position that really get you no business, because those other realtors are in your town and they're not buying from you. They're not referring to you. But golly gee, you get the, the rubber chicken dinner once a month, and it's you get, a round of this. What is it you do to remind people that time is precious for them?
Great question. So I just sent a client a 2024 at a glance calendar. That was one way I do it. We talk about it. We look at the schedule. If need be, we lay out the perfect day and we work towards the perfect day. If you could take my magic wand, and here's the conversation I'll have, Bob, and describe and plan out the perfect day, it must include real estate in this scenario. What does our perfect day, perfect week look like? And we use the time blocks we've talked about: personal time, lead generation, lead follow-up, marketing and admin, and going on appointments. Those are my time blocks I would like to see in your schedule. But before we do that, and what I really find with a lot of people, I won't pigeonhole who, but a lot of people, is that, but then I don't have time for the family stuff. And I remind them, and this is a great exercise. Coach Janet Miller taught me. I love time management. It's my favorite subject. I didn't get this until she shared it with me. We clear our schedule every 90 days and rebuild our schedule. The time changes, the sun comes up at a different time, the kids have different school schedule or summer schedule, the sports change, practices, homework time changes, the spouse's schedule change. So when we rebuild every 90 days, we rebuild by personal and family major big blocks in the schedule before anything else. Then we put in the business big blocks that I just described. And then all of the other incidentals work itself out in the crux of the schedule. So I break it down to nothing and we rebuild it like that, Bob. And one of my favorite topics is time management.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know this story?
Okay, so yeah, I do, but I want you to explain this for everybody who's watching and listening. So if you're listening, Don is holding up a glass pitcher that's filled with stones and rocks and things of that. Ton, tell us this story.
Okay. So for those of you not watching, you have to imagine, and I'm standing up for this example, and I wish it was empty. I would actually do this. I've done a video on this, Bob. I'll share it with you. It's great. So there's a professor standing in front of his class with an empty glass pitcher like this. And he fills the glass pitcher up only with stones, big rocks, from bottom to top. And he asked the class, is this pitcher full? And 100% of them yell out, yes. He says, interesting. Then he takes the sand, as you can see, like I've done in here, and sprinkles the sand in and the pebbles in all the way to the top. And of course, the pebbles fall in between the big rocks. And then he asks the class, is it full? And they start catching on to him. Half the class says yes, half the class says no. Says, here we go. And he sprinkles sand and this cool little glittery sand in there, because those are distractions, right? And the sand settles in between the pebbles and the rocks. And he once again asks the class, is this full? And they resoundingly yell out no. And he says, great job. He pulls out one last glass of water and fills the remainder of the jug up from the bottom to the top. Obviously, the water fills in between all the rocks and the stones and the pebbles. And the moral of the story, of course, is imagine this being our calendar, and we poured the water in first, or we poured the sand in first, and we have soccer practice, and we have dinner with the family, and we have the birthdays and the celebrations that so many of our clients miss out on because they're not scheduling properly. And if the big rocks are in first, we can fit it all in. But if the sand's in there first, the big rocks don't fit in between the pebbles. We've got to prioritize the big rocks in our life first in our schedule.
Yes.
At some level, be willing to dam the torpedoes this is the schedule, this is important to me. And even if that client comes in and can only meet with me at that time during the little league game, you have a serious decision to make. And if your priorities are set and your big rocks are set and they're identified and in the schedule, it's not a tough choice, right? Oh, go Johnny. Yeah. Can't meet with you right now. I can do it later today, or is tomorrow morning better for you? And of course, 95% of the time, that's exactly what works out and everything's fine. But we're fearful of making that call, of course. So without the big rocks in first, none of the rest of the schedule gets attended to. And it's a mess. And we feel like we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off because we didn't put the big rocks in the schedule and work everything else around the big rocks.
It's such a great metaphor for time management. I have never seen somebody who actually has the picture on their desk. I am so proud to know you.
Thank you.
That is absolutely, absolutely true. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
I like to use a slightly different metaphor for it, and it's very very much the same thing. But I like the big stones first, and then the sand, and then the water, and everything like that. I do remind people they need to leave a little bit of air in the they do need a little bit of time for not being absolutely on at every moment. So taking some of those little stones could be personal time, could be
100%.
whatever. But Jello will fill the mold that it's poured into. If you fill Jello into a large mold or a small mold, that Jello will fill the mold. If you have a lot of empty time and you're not doing with it anything with it, you will fill your life into that empty time and not do anything. You can't put the fruit into the Jello after the fact. You have to mix it all together and then set your schedule.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love our different language. It's just a couple 30-minute flex times put in the schedule. That's all it is. And we have to, as coaches, if we have one of those days, and we don't all have them all the days, but one of those 12, 13 appointment days or more, we have very little time for error with our schedule because we want to stay on time for our client's sake. However, I still have 2 or 3 flex pieces in my calendar, even for my sake. And if I do get off schedule, it happens from time to time. It's not all day until I'm caught up. Same thing with our real estate. If we're making outbound text, emails, calls, whatever it is, first thing in the morning, give yourself an hour or two, but give yourself that 20 minutes in between that and the next hard appointment to make sure that if at 1 minute and 52 seconds, you're on a phone call that's going to turn into a 25-minute listing appointment set, you're not rushed off the phone because you have to run out the door to the next appointment. I think that's very important. Very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And,
so,
since we're on it, Bob, I can't talk time management without 2 real big pieces that I think are critical to all of this. Sunday, and we've all heard them multiple times. Very few people I find do it. Sunday night planning for the week, the night before planning for tomorrow. It takes a half an hour maybe on Sunday and 5 minutes a night. Maybe it's an hour on Sunday. Maybe it's 20 minutes the night before on those heavy days. But man, that one thing, setting the call list, setting the to-dos, checking on the appointments, confirming the appointments. Oh man, we can't make it. Great. Now I opened up 2 hours. Well, we're going to move you over to Friday, but now I have this 2 hours. I need to know that as soon as I can so I can plan the rest of my day, have some breathing room, get that project started that I've been putting off, whatever that is. That helps so much in the time management process.
I agree 150%, and I live that. Every Sunday, I set up my week. I go back and revalidate, and sometimes I'll go ahead and look for 2 weeks ahead and just see what's coming up. Do I have a class I need to get a presentation ready for? Do I have a trip coming up? What do I need to be prepared for in my life? When am I going to put the time aside to prepare for that? Like I had a presentation yesterday. I just needed an hour to brush up, the version of the presentation, add a few extra slides specific to this client group. But if I don't put the hour down, I'm not going to spend the time doing it. So I have to say, this is important to me, and when am I doing it?
That's right.
Kind of like working out or whatever. This is important to me. When am I doing it? I do that on Sundays. And then one of the last things I do before I shut my eyes for the next day is I review the next day just to be sure,
100%.
because people will cancel on me. People will be like, "Oh, I'm not going to make this." Okay, so now I have, as you to your point, I have an hour free. What do I want to do with that? I have, or I
Absolutely.
don't, or somebody needs this time. Oh my gosh, I'm jammed up. How do I shuffle and make that work?
That's
Um,
right.
you have, I don't know how many coaching clients you have. I have like almost 40 coaching clients. I have 23 staff members. And if I don't time block rigidly, I screw up everything for them. And
Absolutely.
I will absolutely feel horrible if I mess up their times.
100%.
So I
100%.
have to be that rigid about it.
Yeah. Well, and also, Bob, you have a lot more than just work going on in life. I know that for a fact. And the only way for 99.9% of us to get it all done at a high level is to max out our schedule the way we want it maxed out. I don't mean morning, noon, and night, we're running 100 miles an hour to each their own there. But to be able to get it all done, to have whether it's the friends, the family, the work, the extra projects, the travel, the whatever it is, if it's not laid out beautifully in a schedule, you're again running around like a chicken with your head cut off, or bitching and complaining about the lack that we have. We
Yes.
can't get to it all. And I
Yes.
want to touch point, and Bob, I'm gonna have to go in about 5 minutes here. There's a decision-making process that I've learned a while ago, because one of the things that just popped in my head that a lot of people talk about, how do I decide what goes where in my schedule? And what's a priority for me and what's not. Some people have challenges through that prioritization situation. And super easy 4Ds that I've learned to run through in my head before anything goes in my calendar. The first D is delete. Does it need to be done at all? Can I just
Mhm.
delete this? Secondly, can I delegate it to somebody else? Do I have to do it? Nope. Can't delete it, can't delegate it. Can I delay it? Can I kick the can down the road, or does it need to be done now? Needs to be done this week. Cool. Give yourself permission. Do. Put it in the schedule and do it. So delete, a delegate, a delay, and a do is a very quick filter to put anything that you're contemplating putting in the calendar. Right? If it doesn't need to be done at all, then don't put it in the calendar. If somebody else can do it, delegate it. If it can't be delayed, then we have to do it now. And I've just found that's a very quick, easy way to decide whether it's mine or somebody else's, whether it's now or later in the schedule.
Right. I've seen that attributed to President Eisenhower.
Oh,
And
beautiful. I've been looking for
yeah, there's
where I
actually a
got that
matrix of
from.
this.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
just I just Googled it while you were talking there. Eisenhower matrix.
Stop it.
And
That
the
is not how
president,
I learned that. I'm so happy right now. Thanks,
yeah,
coach.
and it's attributed to General and President Eisenhower. Um, and basically, if it's urgent and important, do it now. If it's important and not urgent, decide when to do it. If it's not important and not and urgent, delegate it out. And if it's not urgent and not important, delete it. And it makes
Yeah,
this nice little
that's
matrix.
so great. I'm flabbergasted right now. It was a book, a seminar, a throwaway line somewhere that I grabbed onto. I'm so thank you. Thank you.
Well, whoever it was R&Ding the former president of the
The
United States.
former president, I like it. It makes me feel that
Yes,
much better. A great tool, definitely.
yes. So Don, thanks
Definitely.
for being on today. We're going to chat again in the near future. Any last thing you want to leave people with right now, with the way the market is and the way things are going for real estate?
Actually, I do. Now that you asked the question, I love doing this. I love our conversations, Bob. Thank you for putting this together. We have been touting for some time now between 40 and 50 conversations to a closing. Right? Something we've talked about. We've been talking about that for a long, long time. Track and measure your contacts, people you're talking to the deals you close. That, as far as I'm finding, is definitely no longer the case. In fact, the group that I'm tracking, this 14-person group, it's 133 conversations to a closing within 5 weeks. Another team of 17 that has a lot of online leads in, they track initial and follow-up conversations. So initial and follow-up conversation, 200 to 1. 200 conversations to close a transaction. So whether it's 133, 272, I don't know what your numbers are. You need to track and measure and know the number of conversations you're having, whether they're digital or voice to voice. Track them and find out how many of them to a closing. You may be surprised how much effort is required for success in today's market. That's all I'm learning. What about you, Bob? Let me ask you the same question. What, any last words of wisdom?
For me in this market right now, the work is the work is the work. It will not do itself. And I ask people to write down 2 scripts. First script is, can I help you buy and sell a house? And they write down that script. And the second script is, do you want fries with that? And I ask people which script they would rather say for the next 2 or 3 years. And depending on their age, I'll change it to thank you for shopping at Walmart. Which one of those scripts do you want to do? Now, giving out fries and shopping and being a Walmart person is a valid, lovely thing to be. I'm not denigrating anything, but you went and took these courses and passed a test and invested in a job that requires work. And I am here for you. I will walk beside you. I will do whatever I can, but I can't do your work. And I need you to carry as much of your commitment as I am carrying for you. Because sometimes I feel I want this more than you. So let's do the work.
Great point, man. Great point. Great words of wisdom, my friend.
Thank you for being here. We'll do another episode in a couple weeks.
Sounds good.
Take care.
Man. Talk to you soon. Bye, Bob.